Hi, my name is William, and I live in a very unusual place where you can walk on walls, hover, and fool the force of gravity. This place is truly magical, but at the same time, it's dangerous, so my story is about it. I live in Santa Cruz, California, and this place is well known all over the world as the Mystery Spot, which is located nearby. In fact, this mystical place was discovered by my great-grandfather, George Prather, only 75 years ago. It all started when my great-grandfather began to suffer from migraines, for which he couldn't find remedy. One day, he wanted to distract himself from a terrible headache, so he went for a walk in the nearest forest. Suddenly, the migraine subsided in just a few minutes, as if he had never had it. That time, my great-grandfather considered it to be just a great coincidence. However, as soon as he started going back home, the pain was back again. My great-grandfather got upset, returned home, and went to bed. The next day, he went to the forest to seek salvation from the migraine again, and, to his surprise, the pain subsided in the same place. My great-grandfather kept going back there for several days in a row, and thus he was able to define the clear boundaries of the place where he didn't have a headache. Since George Prather was a fairly wealthy businessman, he bought that land right away and ordered to build a house there for him and his family. The construction team got to work at once and everything was ready in 2 months. But my great-grandfather was happy only for a while because a week later the house became skewed and he made the construction workers redo the poor quality work. However, no matter how hard the workers tried, the house still couldn't stay straight more than a week. Neither a new construction team nor new building materials helped. And in a year of torment, my great-grandfather realized that there was another reason for that. Namely, he tried to build a house in the anomalous zone, and there was no way one could build a house there. Well, as far as you can see, many years later, I was born on the land of my ancestors, and I still live here. By the way, the house built by my great-grandfather is a museum and a fun attraction for tourists now. Some people come here to visit the place where the laws of physics don't work. That's right, the house that belonged to my great-grandfather turned out to be not only a center where the gravity doesn't work properly, but also a center where the laws of gravitation work in their own way. Here, one can run along the wall without falling down. Round objects don't roll down, they roll up. And even people's height and weight change depending on their location inside the zone. As far as you can see, all these things began to draw attention of both tourists and scientists from all over the world. Moreover, some of them are ready to do anything to achieve their goal, and their goal is to understand what is happening here. Once my older brother Cloud and I were walking in the forest, and suddenly we saw 2 suspicious men in front of us. To tell the truth, there's almost no criminal activity in our area, so we didn't even think that they could be villains, but there was still something suspicious about them. And the sixth sense didn't fail us, because when we drew up with the strangers, they asked if we were George Prather's great-grandchildren. Then they introduced themselves as policemen and took us somewhere, putting handcuffs on us. It turned out that we were going to a black-tinted van parked nearby. Then it became clear that those people had nothing to do with the police. As soon as we were inside the car, they said that we would have to tell everything, and they wouldn't let us go until they knew all the secrets of our great-grandfather. The strangers asked where his diaries were, how he managed to turn this place into an anomalous zone, and what he left us. As far as you can see, we didn't know the answers to the questions, and that's why we realized that we would stay there for a very, very long time. It's hard for me to say why those people were so sure that what was happening in and around our great-grandfather's house was a man-made practice. But they were very serious, and an hour or an hour and a half later, talking was followed by actions. One of them took a stun gun and gave an electric shock to my brother. Then they said that we would have to talk a little more and that this information was very important to them. I even tried to tell them that we often saw UFOs over the forest and that there were even traces of UFOs landing nearby. Therefore, many people living there were sure that it was the secret of the mystery spot. But that only made the criminals angrier. They didn't come here for this information for sure. It turned out that those were people from the team of some Chinese professor who wanted to find a clue to the anomaly in the mystery spot at all costs. And it seemed that if we really knew something, the information would be worth billions of dollars in certain circles. In the meantime, my brother got the second shock and they told me that I would be next. And in case we didn't say more information, they would use something more interesting than the stun gun. It sounded threatening. My brother had tears in his eyes. He said that he was in great pain and asked to let us go, and I just couldn't say anything. To tell the truth, this is the way I usually respond to a stressful situation. Moreover, I realized that it would get even worse further, and in the end, these people could simply kill us. They didn't lie, and I got the next shock. My body was pierced by thousands of mini lightnings, and it seemed that thousands of needles were thrust into me. My whole body ached from crown to heels. And then those two began to ask questions more persistently, but we still had no answers. Then they began to choke us and say that we were two jerks, had no right to destroy their goal, they would still achieve their goal and become rich. I was short of breath and my eyes dimmed. Then the villains unclasped their hands and said that it was our last chance. Then my brother said that he would show them the place where our great-grandfather's work was kept. At first, I thought he went nuts. But the next moment, I realized that he was going to fool them. It was very dangerous, but staying there would be equal to committing suicide, so we needed to sail with every wind, and I decided to play along with my brother. I told him that he was an idiot. The information cost a lot of money, and he just told some strangers about it. We got into a verbal fight, but the kidnappers told us to shut up and bring them to the place. They showed us the loaded guns just in case one of us started doing something wrong. At first, I couldn't understand where Cloud tried to take them, but then I realized that he wanted to go to the house of the hunter, with whom our family was friends. The hunter used to be a special forces soldier, and he could probably help us. When we were close to our final destination, Cloud showed the criminals the hunter's house and said that all the documents were buried right behind it, and that place belonged to our great-grandfather in the past as well. We were lucky because they believed us and went to the house. When we got there, we said that all the papers were buried there. The criminals told us to dig together. It was strange because the hunter hadn't come out yet. Maybe he wasn't at home. If so, it was thumbs down for us. The next moment, he appeared behind our backs with his dog and a loaded gun. He asked menacingly what was going on here, and those two took out their guns as well. Then, everything was like in a movie because a bullet flew right next to my head. One of the thugs began to shout something and jump around. The other one dropped the gun and raised his hands. Finally, Cloud and I could relax a little, but the hunter demanded an explanation, and we told him everything. We called the police and our parents, and now those two would have to face trial. Then we realized that our property could bring us a lot of troubles, and our parents asked the head of the state police to put a permanent patrol near us. Moreover, Cloud and I had to get a smartwatch, which enables us to always be in touch with our parents. What do you think is the secret of the abnormality of the mystery spot? Give your answers under this video, like it, and subscribe to our channel, because our subscribers are the coolest.